I mentioned the name, address, phone number. Kind of the thing about digital marketers and SEOs especially, we love acronyms. So we got an acronym for everything. So we got another acronym to throw at you guys, NAP. And it stands for name, address, phone number. And the reason that's important is because you want to make sure that the name of the business and the address of the business and the phone number are the same everywhere that you get a citation or a mention of your business. If you don't, what'll happen if you use different information, and sometimes that can be, and I want it to be, you need it to be exact, meaning, like in this example here, this pizzeria is at 3601 North Digital Drive, but you could basically spell out that or write out that that address in multiple different ways. You could spell out North. That N stands for North. You could write out North. You could spell out Drive. You could do Suite 204. You know, there's all these different things that you can do with the address being essentially the same. But you want to make sure that you're using the exact same kind of syntax and format for your address everywhere you post it. And you also want to make sure that your phone number is exactly the same. Sometimes you may have, and as marketers, we love to be able to track different things. And so, you know, we love to, and this is something I've done on different campaigns, is where you'll set up a tracking phone number. And so you may be tempted to say, well, I'm going to set up a different tracking. I want to use a different phone number on Google and a different one on Facebook and a different one on, you know, Foursquare and all, you know, every single different directory. I want to use a different one so I can track where the call came from. And while it's admirable that you want to track that, it's going to totally mess up your local listings if you do that. So if you want to avoid using a separate tracking number, use a number, use the same number, use your main number. Ideally, it's a local number, not a toll-free number if you are serving a local business. And you want to just be consistent with that. If you're not consistent, it's going to come back to haunt you, and you're going to be hating life because you got to go back and clean up and fix all that stuff. So here's a few examples of what, you know, citations are. When we talk about citations, I'm talking about the mention of your business with that name, address, and phone number on a website or somewhere on the web. A lot of times, most of these are directory type websites. So here's a few examples from Superpages and Yelp, TripAdvisor, Foursquare, etc. So these are, you know, you can see it's got the name, in this case, Chuck E. Cheese's, and it's got the address, it's got the, you know, you know, and the phone number. In most cases, there's a couple that maybe it was a different place on the page. I didn't catch it in the screenshot, but typically you're going to have name, address, phone number, and you want those to be consistent. And one of the challenge with these things are, you know, and this especially gets difficult if you move, if your business moves to a new location, change of address, then you've got all this old information that's out there all over the web that may be incorrect or outdated, and you've got to update that information. So it can take a lot of time to go around and have to go to all the different sites and update that. But there are automated solutions that can streamline that. And so, one of the things that, and this is a screenshot of a infographic from a company called WhiteSpark that does a lot of local marketing and citation work. And this shows, just give you an idea of kind of the ecosystem of local search. So across the top here, they've got what are called data aggregators. These are the guys that essentially are kind of like phone book data providers, but you know, nobody really uses phone book anymore. These guys actually do provide data to phone books, but then they also are providing their business data to all these other different directories and sites, and you can kind of see these lines going all over the place. It's kind of a jumbled mess, but the thing to understand is that as long as you have your business listed in all of these different places and it's consistent, accurate, and the same in all of these, then you're going to be okay, because all of your information, as it's being fed to these different sites and directories, it'll be accurate and the same. And not only that, but the more distributed your information is, and that name, address, phone number is across all these different sites, that's more citations that Google's looking at and saying, like, okay, this business is legit. That's helping improve the prominence of your business, and so you're going to be more likely to show up. And so again, and what will happen is if your address changes, you've got to change it across all of these different sites and directories across the ecosystem. And if you miss one of them, a lot of times, especially if you're missing one of these at the top here, then they're going to be distributing your old incorrect information, and it's kind of this never-ending cycle of having to go back and fix your information and change your information and try, it's just can be I've talked to people who have just struggled with that for, in some cases, years, and it's really can be a painful process for a business owner. So what I would recommend, but you can do that, and you can manage that, and there's people that do that and that are maybe have more time than brains, and so they do that. But what I prefer is to use an automated tool. We have a platform that automates that process. You go in, update your business information in one place, and then it's pushed out. So this is where you would update that information, and then it's pushed out to over 70 different directories. A lot of these are the ones that I showed in that ecosystem slide, where it's some of those are data aggregators, and some of those are specific actual directories. And you look at these, and a lot of these you may not have heard of, and that's the point. You probably won't take the time to go out and get your listing on some of these, like on a getfave.com or iBegin or something that you've never heard of and don't even maybe know that it exists, but Google knows that they exist, and Google's seeing those citations in business information when it appears, and they're looking at it and comparing it against your other information. And as you do that, and with a platform like ours, you lock in your information, and it's not going to get updated by somebody that has old, incorrect information. It's locked in, it's correct, and it's pretty much immediate. Within 24 hours, everything's updated and pushed out to all the different sites. And so it saves incredible amount of time and headache and hassle. And so I would recommend something like that to manage that piece of that.